Good morning. Monday grades with Wes Huber. We had a lot of exciting games yesterday, and a couple that just blew my mind. But we'll definitely be focusing on the individuals here, and not on the results of the matchups, even the ties. So let's begin with the A's. I'm giving out top of the class efforts here, and how can we start out with anyone other than Patrick Mahomes? 30 out of 39, 77% completion percentage, 360 yards, 5 touchdowns, 144.2 passer rating, 9.2 yards per attempt. And what is most impressive about those numbers, he only attempted 3 passes in the fourth quarter. I mean, they put the Cardinals away 44-21, and Mahomes didn't even break a sweat. Moving on, it's the only guy with an A grade that was in a losing effort is Deandre Swift. 15, 144, 9.6 yards per carry. 68% of his yardage came after contact, and he added 331.0 receiving. So it was a total of 9 broken tackles. I'm just surprised he only got 18 touches. This kid just couldn't be stopped yesterday. And they almost came back too as well. Only lost by 3. So Justin Jefferson, there's a reason he's the wide receiver 1. 10 targets, 184 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. 7 of those 9 receptions were for first downs. He averaged 5.58 yards per route run, 20.4 yards per reception. 44% of his yardage came after the catch, which is impressive for such a big day. And he had a perfect 158.3 targeted passer rating. A.J. Brown, my guy, 11 targets, 10, 155, 0, 7 first downs, tied Jefferson, 3.97 yards per route run, 15.5 yards per reception, 43% of his yardage came after the catch, 118.8 targeted passer rating. Jamar Chase, man, this is the game that just blew my mind. So he had 15 targets, 129 yards, a touchdown, which we'll get there. 10 first downs, NFL leading. 37% of his yardage came after the catch. So in the fourth quarter, he had 547 and a touchdown, and on 9 targets. That touchdown, it should have been the game winner in the coverage of Akella Witherspoon. And of course, they didn't have a long snapper, so they were using a backup tight end, Mitchell Wilcox, to snap the ball. It led to a blocked PAT, and then a missed field goal in overtime, so they ended up losing. Moving on, let's get to the B grades. Carson Wentz. So, didn't love that he threw 2 interceptions, but he led the team to a winning effort, completed 66% of his attempts, 4 touchdowns, 313 yards, 7.6 yards per attempt, 7.4 air per attempt. And we have Justin Herbert. Now, he was, basically the effort was A-worthy, but they just didn't need him to take it to the Carson Wentz level. 76% of his passes found a home, 271 yards, 3 touchdowns, 129.7 passer rating, 8.2 yards per attempt. I would have liked to have seen him go just a little bit higher, especially hit that 300-yard bonus. Running back, it was, there were several efforts from the tied game yesterday that are notable. Jonathan Taylor, of course, 161 yards and a touchdown, average 5.2, 71% of it came after contact. He had 10 broken tackles, and he added a 4.14.0 receiving line. In the fourth quarter, he took 9 carries for 70 yards and a touchdown. Nobody ran for more yardage in the fourth quarter yesterday. and at 7.8 yards per carry. It's just a shame they couldn't come away with the victory. Miles Sanders, there was all the talk about how he wasn't going to get it done this year, and concerns that he was going to be replaced by somebody on the roster. I don't know who. 1396, 7.4 yards per carry. 81% of his yardage came after contact. Only 3 broken tackles, but who cares? 290 receiving. Fourth quarter, four carries, 35 yards, 8.8 yards per carry. It was an impressive day for Sanders. Might not have secured his role through the draft next season, but we'll see. Devonte Adams. Had he come away with the victory, I'd have moved him up to an A. He didn't, and there were a couple other guys I just had to keep him down at a B. 15 targets, 10 141, 8 first downs, the second most in the NFL. 3.36 yards per route run, 43% came after the catch. Michael Pittman. 13 targets, 9 catches, 121 yards, 7 first downs, 2.28 yards per route run, 124.2 targeted passer rating. The unsung hero of the Baltimore victory over the Jets was Devin Duvernay. 5 targets, 2 catches, 59 yards, 2 touchdowns, a perfect 158.3 targeted passer rating. He added 2 punt returns for 17 yards. He also fair caught a couple. So this guy he was the key to victory yesterday for Baltimore. So instead of looking at my C grades, let's call it the biggest second half improvement tier. And we got to start out with Jameis Winston. So in the first half, he had 24 passing yards, 2.4 yards per attempt, 56.3 passer rating, and he should have been picked off by Jalen Hawkins on a corner route to Jarvis Landry. It was cover 3 as right before they entered the half, losing 16-7. Second half, 18 out of 24, 75%, 245 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 134.9 passer rating, which was a 58% improvement, 10.2 yards per attempt, 76% improvement, 10.8 air yards per attempt, 37% improvement. I gave Winston a B here. He made 2 unbelievable throws down the left sideline to Michael Thomas and then one to Jarvis Landry on the game-winning drive. Came away with the last drive victory, 27-26. So we got to give a lot of the players in the San Francisco-Chicago matchup a bit of a pass. It was a torrential downpour. You can't really see it from the broadcast footage, but it was pouring rain, and there was an inch of water on the ground. At the end of the first half, Justin Fields, 3 out of 9, 19 yards, 2.8 passer rating. It was the lowest across all of the active games at that point. 2.1 yards per attempt, 5.7 air yards per attempt. And he threw an interception where he doesn't get a pass, but there was pressure from the 2019 fifth rounder out of Texas, Charles Omenihu, who blocked his view of safety Talanoa Hufanga out of USC in cover 3. But in the second half, when the game was, no points halfway through the third quarter. And then he comes out 5 out of 8, 102 yards, a pair of touchdowns, a 145.8 passer rating, 98% improvement, 12.8 yards per attempt, which was an 84% improvement, and 15.4 air yards per attempt, which was a 63% improvement. Still, we've yet to see what we're getting out of Justin Fields or Trey Lance. Fields did provide some pretty crucial clutch play that I think is going to go a long way towards what happens this season. I want to see him in a dry environment, both he and Trey Lance, and definitely guys like Darnell Mooney and Brandon Ayuk. I'm not judging them. They didn't do anything that I thought was necessarily bad during the game. So we're going to wait a week before we get too crazy with our evaluation of those players. Joe Burrow. This one, I went to my kid's game, and I was following along on my phone, but I just could not believe Burrow was at 109 yards, 3 interceptions, 4 sacks. JJ Watt was easily the MVP of the game at that point, and then he tore a pectoral muscle, probably out for a year. It's going to be a major injury for him. Just the athletic player that he is, not being able to do any weight training, it's devastating. I feel so sorry for him. The guy put in just for his entire career, has just put in so much to have an injury like that. But second half, Joe Burrow comes out. Yes, he threw the 1 interception, but he had to be aggressive. He had to push the ball down the field. 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like I said, the one that should have been the game winner as time expired or 2 seconds left. But he had a 51% improvement in passer rating. It was the Joe Burrow that we know and love. Think about it. He had the burst appendix. He didn't have much of a training camp with his team, even though it's the same receiving group. He also lost T. Higgins to a concussion in the first half, and Tyler Boyd to a strained hamstring. Those were significant losses. There was another throw. He should have thrown another touchdown to Michael Thomas, who had it just bounce straight through his hands. Joe Burrow was definitely worthy of a C grade, even though he threw 4 interceptions. Saquon Barkley, just because he's in this column, in this part of the live stream, doesn't mean that he's a C grade. Let me get to it. First half, 6 carries, 42 yards, 7 yards per attempt, 83% after contact. Sorry, my dog, get over here. 83% after contact, 317-0 receiving, 2 broken tackles. Second half, 12 carries, 122 yards, 1 touchdown, 10.2 yards per attempt, 72%. Still didn't lose too much there after contact. Only 2 broken tackles, but he was getting through contact, which was enough. I didn't think Saquon would have a great game here against the Tennessee defense. I did think the Giants would come away with the victory. A- effort for Saquon Barkley. And that's taking nothing away from him, just wasn't as a crazy of a game as a couple of the other guys. Had the yardage. It's definitely impressive, and I'm looking forward to more. So definitely my opinion on Saquon will change if we see more of this. Did anybody have a bigger improvement than Michael Thomas? I mean, the quarterbacks, but as far as the wide receivers, I don't think anybody did. Through 3 quarters, 20 routes, 4 targets. He had 1 catch for 4 yards. Had a barrel bottom 39.6 passer rating. In the fourth quarter, 13 routes, 4 targets, 4 catches, 4 first downs, 4.08 yards per route run, 53 yards, pair of touchdowns, perfect 158.3 targeted passer rating. Time will tell if we're getting the old can't guard Mike back on the field. Hate to do it, but let's get to the D grades. So Kyler Murray, 65% completion percentage, 193 yards, 2 touchdowns. Didn't do much on the ground. 99.3 passer rating. Only 5.7 yards per attempt, though. He had a fumble and should have been picked off by Juan Thornhill late in the second quarter. My biggest issue with Kyler Murray was I didn't see any sense of urgency as Kansas City was racking up points. The level and the rate that KC was scoring, Kyler Murray should have been pushing the ball and showing us all why he's being paid so much money. He didn't do it. Okay, they didn't need him as much. Austin Eckler, 15 carries, 44 yards, only 2.9 yards per attempt. 91% of it came after contact. I will say that. The offensive line didn't do him any favors. I'm not here to grade the offensive line. But he did have 3 catches, 28 yards. Meh. We want to see more out of Eckler. 2 broken tackles. Fourth quarter, 4 carries, 10 yards. It went down as it got later. We'll have bigger days ahead, but he gets a D this week. James Conner, man, he is the definition of a plotter. I mean, there definitely should be a picture of him next to plotter in the dictionary. 10 carries, 30 yards. Of course, he got a touchdown. Of course, 3.0 yards per attempt, 70% after contact, which that means nothing when you rush for 30 yards. 529 receiving. That's how he always saves his fantasy day. 3 broken tackles at your size. We need to see more. Deebo Samuel. I'll give him a D plus. All right, because he scored a touchdown. But 7 targets. He only caught 2, 14 yards, 0 first downs. 136% of his yardage came after the catch. He only caught 2 passes, bro. 39.6 targeted passer rating. He did rush 852-1, 6.5, and 67% came after contact, but he lost a fumble too. D plus. Amari Cooper. I didn't see it happening. It was a tough matchup, and it worked out in Carolina's favor. So 6 targets, 3 catches, 17 yards. Carolina came back late, but then it ended up losing on a field goal. Amari Cooper, 0.50 yards per route run, 56.3 targeted passer rating. He's just counting down the days to getting Deshaun Watson back on the field. We all have a man crush on Kyle Pitts, and nobody's going to be going out and dropping him or anything. 28 routes, 7 targets, 219, 0, 1 first down, 0.68 yards per route run, 39.6 targeted passer rating, the lowest. Hopefully we have better weeks ahead. So the F grades. And the headliner of this one is Aaron Rodgers. He completed 65% of his passes, but 5.7 yards per attempt. It's just unheard of, 67.6 passer rating for Aaron Rodgers. But, he kind of did the same thing last year against the Saints in week 1. But 5.9 air yards per attempt, that was unexpected, even in a loss. He should have been picked off by Harrison Smith, and after he held the ball for too long, he had another ripped out of his hands by Dalvin Tomlinson at the beginning of Q3. I mean, they only lost the game 23-7. This is the type of game Aaron Rodgers at least turns into a competitive matchup. So, I'm going to kick this horse when he's down, because everything that happened that I'm grading him on, it took place prior to his injury. Dak Prescott completed 48% of his passes, 134 yards, didn't throw a touchdown, 1 interception, 47.2 targeted passer rating, 4.6 yards per attempt. Now, he did average 7.4 air yards per attempt. It's not great, but definitely we see a difference there between the air yards and the yardage per. But he should have been picked off on 2 more terrible throws, 2 others in the game. They only put up 3 points. Yes, he's out multiple weeks, but wow, we're going to need to see something from Dak when he gets back. This is concerning. Even against Tampa Bay, he's being paid as one of the highest, as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. We're going to need to see that the moment he gets back. Chase Edmonds, he's being paid like an RB1, 12 carries, 25 yards, 2.1 yards per carry, 0 broken tackles. He did go 440 receiving, 2 broken tackles through the air. That's what we expect. In the fourth quarter, 4 carries, 8 yards. Basically, he's a satellite back being forced into a square peg. Like we thought, they should have drafted a running back or signed somebody that was deserving of an RB1 role. They didn't. So David Montgomery, this is a bit harsh, but I'm not as lenient on the running game as I am passing in these types of games, because the defense has to work through the same stuff. 17 carries, 26 yards, average 1.5 yards per carry. 92% of it came after contact. Again, who cares? It was 26 rushing yards, 3 catches, 24 yards, 5 broken tackles. David Montgomery is annually one of the top running backs breaking tackle rates. So fourth quarter, 5 carries, 9 yards. Need to see more, brother. That's just not enough. Devonta Smith, I really thought this would be an opportunity for him. Maybe we'll see it in the coming weeks. He's got A.J. Brown drawing tons of attention. But A.J. Brown, you just can't stop that guy. If he's healthy, he's going to beast. Devonta Smith, team leading 40 routes, 2 targets, 0 receptions. He dropped one of those. 39.6 targeted passer rating, the lowest. CD Lamb, yeah, your quarterback was bad. You were just as bad. 10 targets, 229-0, 2 first downs, 0.64 yards per route run. Only 28% of those 29 yards came after the catch. 39.6 targeted passer rating. Then, yeah, that's a little harsh for a rookie. 18 routes for Isaiah Likely, 2 targets, 0 receptions, had a drop. We'll give him a pass. Probably not deserving of an F. I should move him up to a D, but still, I would like to have seen something after such a big camp in preseason. So hopefully we'll see something out of him moving forward. I did not expect it would be Devin Duvernay that would be the breakout player for Baltimore. But, that's why we play a full season. So we'll see how it goes. A lot of these guys are going to be up and down, and I'll be here going over each one of them every week. That's all for Monday Grades.